From the combined newsrooms of KARK4 and Fox 16, breaking news coverage. You're watching KARK4 Today, Central Arkansas's Emmy Award-winning morning show.
And good morning, everyone. We do have breaking news for you this morning. A mass shooting in downtown Little Rock. I'm Donna Terrell.
And I am Aaron Nolan. Right now, here's what we know. 17 people were shot at Power Ultra Lounge. This is in downtown Little Rock. It's one of those moments, Donna, when you wake up, you hear something like this. This is actually video from inside the club. Listen to the shots fired.
We are told there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 shots that were fired inside of this club last night. This happened around 2:30 in the morning. We're going to start with team coverage. We have Price McKeon. She is live at the scene. Price, this situation is fluid still. What do we know right now?
What we know right now are the basics of what police are telling us right now. We know that 17 people were hit by gunfire, according to police. One of those people they originally said was in critical condition. They've updated that to stable condition. I'm going to get out of the way, though, so you can see what is going on exactly behind me. Crime scene investigators just cleared the scene a few minutes ago, clearing what evidence markers they had down here. You can see that there are windows busted out there. What else we know is that more than 17 people were even injured here. Police say that some people were injured when they were leaving the scene. I've been out here myself with some other coworkers since 3:30 this morning, watching as investigators started just combing through all this evidence over here. The police chief said that detectives are at the hospital talking with victims. They said there was some type of dispute that broke out in this club, and that's when the gunfire erupted. Now, police say that detectives are talking to victims at 3 to 4 hospitals, including Little Rock hospitals. Even as far away as they say a North Little Rock hospital is possibly treating a victim, according to them. When we asked the chief if it was a mass shooting, he told us some people would call it a mass shooting. He would say it's a multiple shooting, whatever it is. He said, and I quote, "It's alarming and very, very disturbing." Right now, we've been reporting all week that there have been about 10 drive-bys in the area in just the last 8 to 9 days. So we asked the chief when we were talking with him this morning if there was any connection to what happened here, to those drive-bys. He said it's just too early to tell, that they don't want to make any guesses at this point. They just want to start interviewing people and talking with them and trying to figure out what could have happened. Donna?
Hey, Price, what do we know about the group that was performing there last night? And just to kind of put this all in perspective, because some people may not be familiar with Power Ultra Lounge, it is the former Lulav restaurant. Many people have gone to that restaurant in the past, and even when it switched the name, switched ownership, it was still a restaurant. It could very well still be a restaurant, but I remember around the time when they decided to turn the upstairs area into a nightclub. They would bring in different acts, local, some from out of town. Have we been able to figure out what group was playing last night? Because sometimes that can be an indication of the type of crowd that's there.
Or we don't have a name right now of the exact group, but what we do know, it was a group from Memphis that was playing, and it was somewhere upstairs in that club that they were playing when this dispute, police say, broke out and that gunfire broke out. So we do know that it is, according to police, a group from Memphis that was performing here at the club. When it comes to upstairs, downstairs, I can tell you from just being out here, there are windows broken out. At least on 2 different sides. You can't even see it in our shot because it's just, you can't even show it. It's so big, the scene right now. But there are windows just broken out on this side, on another side. So that's what we know right now.
Price McKeon reporting live for us this morning. Price, thank you so much. Again, 17 people shot. dozens and dozens of shots fired at the Power Ultra Lounge. One thing that we do want to point out in this, yeah, I think you can qualify this as a mass shooting, but this was not terror related. Little Rock Police tell us that this was not terror related. So if you wake up, you hear this, you think 17 people shot, you immediately think, you know, the worst upon the worst, that this would be a terror attack. This is not the case according to the police chief. But a couple more things, Donna, as we look at this information, a lot of victims here, the youngest being 16 years old. A lot going on. 16 years old.
16 years old in a nightclub. Chief Buckner spoke with our reporters last night, and he had a lot to say about this. Sometimes, though, not enough to say because police are still trying to gather information. This investigation, of course, is ongoing. We want to take a minute to listen to the chief and hear what he said in terms of what he believes happened last night.
On today's date, at approximately 2:30 a.m. at 220 West 6th Street at a club either formerly known or still known as the Power Lounge. There was a concert held here today. Preliminary information has a group from Memphis that was performing at this location. Some sort of dispute broke out between individuals that were inside. An exchange of gunfire took place. We believe that the latest number has approximately 17 individuals that were injured as a result of the gunfire. Also, other individuals were injured either being trampled or trying to exit the location. The youngest individual being age 16. All of that is preliminary information. We do not believe that this was an act of terror, nor do we believe it was an active shooter situation. The injured individuals are at our area hospitals, primarily 3 locations and possibly 1 hospital in North Little Rock. At this time, we're still very early in our investigation and gathering information, talking to witnesses, the promoters. At one point, we believe that they did have off-duty police working at the location. It is unclear at this time if they were there at the time of the actual incident when it occurred. Again, there were multiple individuals that were injured. The condition of those individuals right now, we believe that 1 is in critical condition. The others appear to be non-life threatening, but all of that's based upon preliminary information.
Are you expecting any more victims to show up at hospitals?
Well, we don't know. Obviously, with the time that it currently is, if they were out there, they probably would be at the hospitals by now. But that certainly could happen.
I just want to reiterate, you said 17 people were injured by gunfire or gunfire and exiting the club? We believe 17 individuals were injured by gunfire, one of which appears to be critical.
Do we think we have multiple suspects?
It's too early to know that, but based upon the number of individuals that were injured, I would say that it probably would be multiple shooting suspects.
Any description of a vehicle, any information about who?
It's still too early for that kind of information. We'll still have our detectives at the hospitals at this location talking to individuals, trying to gather that kind of intimate information about the possible suspects.
That's a lot of victims. How many hospitals are we talking about that they're going to? They're going everywhere?
We believe that there's 3 to 4 hospitals that these individuals are currently located at in the central Arkansas area.
Is this characterized as a mass shooting here in Little Rock?
I would call it a multiple shooting. Some people would call it a mass shooting. Too many people shot. I mean, 1 is too many. 17 is certainly alarming and very, very disturbing.
Do we have any idea how many people were injured by the exiting of the club?
We do not have that information. We're still gathering that with our detectives at our area hospitals.
What would your message be as chief to people during this time right now where we just reported nearly 10 drive-bys in 8 days and now this gunfire here in downtown? What is your message to people?
Well, certainly during incidents such as this, emotions are very high. I think we need to be very careful with our words. This is, I guess, a blip on the map that we certainly didn't need, considering the history that we've had over the past week. We've put out warrants for a couple of individuals that we believe were responsible for some of those shootings. So at a time when you feel like that you had some momentum to get some of the individuals responsible for those shootings, we had this incident happen. But because we're still very early into this incident, we want to kind of just reserve our any further statements about that until we know more about the situation.
So no connections at this point?
It's too early to know that. It's too early to know that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You were just hearing from Little Rock Police Chief Kenton Buckner as 17 people were shot overnight at a club in downtown Little Rock. This is not a terror attack, according to the Little Rock Police, but just a mass shooting. Let's show you exactly where this lounge was. It's 220 West 6th Street. So this is kind of an overview of downtown Little Rock. Right here is Broadway. So this is that main drag going through downtown Little Rock. And this is over here. You see 220 West 6th Street. La Quinta Inn, you take a ride on 6th Street. That's when you're going to hit that location. If we switch it over to satellite view, you can kind of take a look at the buildings themselves. Southern Gourmetia, right off of Capitol. So you're very close to Capitol and Center at that point. Capitol and 6th Street. They're at the Power Ultra Lounge. Again, as 17 people were shot overnight. We're continuing to follow Twitter as well, because a lot of information on a situation like this comes in on Twitter. Little Rock Police have been fantastic giving people information as they get it. 46 minutes ago, they are calling this a mass shooting. One of the victims that was critical has been upgraded. So again, no one has died, no death involved with these 17 shootings. We do know that there's been about 3 to 4 different hospitals that these victims have been sent to. We also know that Leslie Rutledge just tweeted out a moment ago. Alan is producing this show for us. Unfortunately, I can't pull that up. Alan, what did Leslie tell us? Leslie Rutledge, our Attorney General, saying praying for the victims and all 17 shot. So Donna Terrell, this is really starting to make the rounds this morning, and this is kind of why we're here this morning, giving you this information, because it is flowing in as often as possible, and we're getting a lot of that information coming in.
You know, and it's one of those kind of things, you hear about mass shootings happening at nightclubs and in other places, and now here it is, it's happening right here in our backyard. I just got a message from a city official telling me that this rap group is out of Memphis. The name of the group is called Finesse 2 Times. I went to their Twitter page. It's been suspended as of right now. One of the things we need to find out, and of course, the group being from Memphis, you have to wonder if they brought in people from Memphis, if that had anything to do with this group, if this was something that involved Little Rock people. I mean, there are many unanswered questions right now. I know police are trying to figure all of that out, as are we. But again, the name of the group, Finesse 2 Times, they were performing last night at Power Ultra Lounge. We're looking right there at their Twitter page. I went to it just a minute ago and it said suspended, but we see it there now, Finesse 2 Times. That's the person who was performing last night when this shooting broke out. We have video. We tried to play it for you earlier and you weren't able to hear the gunshots. At least I couldn't hear the gunshots. There were anywhere. We keep trying to. Let's listen. So obviously, you got it right there. The reason the video goes dark is because whoever was holding the phone, I'm sure they were scared to death. But you could certainly hear those shots. Anywhere between 20 and 30 shots fired. We talk about the 17 people who were shot or injured. Some of these people were injured because they were trying to get out of there. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that the one person who was in critical condition has now been upgraded to stable, so no one has died from this. We want to go out to Jonathan Roselle, who is at the hospital. Jonathan, are you with us? And one of the things I just learned is Jonathan had a relative who was there last night, who probably has given him some information that he can share with us. One of our news reporters was planning on going there last night. So this is one of those kind of places where people actually go. They don't have this kind of violence. We do know that the group was from Memphis. Perhaps that brought in the violence. We don't know right now, and I don't want to sit here and speculate. But
well, Donna, as you watch that video, you really start to understand the emotion that must have been involved in that club. 3 dozen shots fired. We've got John Kushmal, who was actually counting those shots. It's very hard to imagine that and being there. And one thing that I instantly start thinking about, when you've got that many shots fired, and you know, this is just the way we are, what type of weapon was this? It had to be some kind of semi-automatic weapon.
I'm thinking it's a semi-automatic weapon, probably a pistol,
yeah.
Semi-automatic pistol. And you also, you bring up a very good point, because this person was able to get this gun in this club.
Into the club.
Into the club.
And that is a terrifying moment when you're thinking
That is.
about clubs, when you're thinking about these outside evening activities. It is very terrifying. We were showing you the location. This is where that club is at 220 West 6th Street. Price McKeon has been there all morning long. She joins us now with more of what she's heard. And Price, you had the chance to interview Police Chief Kenton Buckner. And one thing that he wanted to point out was, yes, this may be a mass shooting at 17 people injured, but this was not a terror attack. What else can you tell us about the conversation, Price, that you had with Chief Kenton Buckner?
Well, we apologize for that. Price probably needs to turn on her microphone, or maybe the battery is dead. But, you know, the chief was telling us earlier, Aaron, that no, it's not terror related.
Yeah.
And that they're still trying to gather more information. I think the goal right now is to certainly find the person or the people who pulled the trigger, pulling the trigger.
And that's something that we go back to Twitter and how we're getting information right now, some of that breaking information, and it is through Twitter. And I think Chief Buckner, as well as the Little Rock Police Department, has done a fantastic job in making sure that not only, and maybe less important that we know, but more important that you in the community know as you wake up this morning and realize what has happened overnight. 17 people shot, nearly 36 shots fired. No deaths, but the Little Rock Police Department is keeping all that information on their Twitter page to let you guys know in the community that everything is under control. Some of the updates that we've seen 3 hours ago, we do not believe this incident was an active shooter or terror related. Again, that is for you so that you know that. The last update was about an hour ago. The victim in the mass shooting that was in critical condition has been upgraded to stable condition, so that is very good news. But again, as you get this information, as we get this information, we like to use things like this. But again, it doesn't make the story any easier this morning, Donna. 17 people injured in a mass shooting here in the capital city.
Yeah, and this being a nightclub, you know, where people are just going to hang out, have a good time, listen to a rap group. And Jonathan Roselle is at the hospital where some of the 17 people were sent. We know that there are 3 to 4 hospitals, obviously 3 in Little Rock and 1 in North Little Rock, where these victims were sent. We want to talk to Jonathan, who's at the hospital right now. Jonathan, what do you know about their conditions? We've already heard that that one person who was in critical condition has been upgraded now.
And absolutely right, Donna. I'm told that that person that is actually a woman who was listed in critical condition when this initially broke out about an hour ago, as you heard, said, Little Rock Police saying that she is doing better at this point. Right now, we don't know the exact conditions of the other 16 victims, the shooting victims in this nightclub shooting incident here. We've talked to hospitals right now. They're trying to get the exact conditions of those shot at this point. They don't know how many were brought to their hospitals. Some of those victims, Little Rock Police tell me, may have been moved around to different hospitals based on the needs of their injuries there. Again, we're working to get more confirmed incidents and injuries on those that were shot.
I'm finding it's a person.
This, Jonathan, because from what I've been told, you had a nephew, a relative who was there last night. Certainly you've had a chance to talk to them to get some information. What are they telling you? What happened?
Absolutely, Donna. I woke up about 3 o'clock this morning to a frantic call. My nephew calling me, telling me that there had been a shooting at the Power Ultra Lounge there. He said he was outside the club when it happened, heard about 20 rounds or so, and saw people scampering out. He himself was very shaken. He says he knows some of these victims that were shot. He says that they are friends of his. These are young adults, ages 16 to 21 is what he's telling me, maybe a little older than that, but just chaos is what he called it. Mass chaos is what he called it, rather. After this shooting happened, people really running, not exactly knowing exactly what was going on out there. He himself just, again, very shaken at this point, trying to figure out exactly what happened.
Back to the scene. I just need to ask you one other question, Jonathan. I know you have been to this place. You and I have talked about this. In fact, you once invited me there. This is a place where most people go there. They're not in fear of something like this. Am I correct?
Absolutely, Donna. This is a nightclub that's very, just very peaceful, for lack of a better word. Very, just very controlled. This isn't something that is a norm there. This is where as you said, we've been there. It's very friendly. We know the area. The area itself is just very calm, and folks there are really, just really get along there. This is a shock, and a lot of folks are stunned that this happened out there, really waking up to this news here, asking what has happened. You had one witness who actually asked me, when will this gun violence in Little Rock stop happening? We were just going there to have fun, and all of a sudden this breaks out into violence here.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that update on that. We want to send it back to Price McKeon, who's actually at the scene of Power Ultra Lounge. She was the person who was able to interview Chief Buckner last night. Have you found out any new information?
We haven't found out much new information, Donna, but what we do know is we've been going through that interview. We've been watching as detectives and crime scene investigators have been out here, and they've been walking in and out, collecting evidence, picking up evidence markers, things like that. We've been watching, but we did talk with the chief this morning around 3:30, and that's when we found out from him. He said that there was a group performing a concert. The group was from Memphis, that they were inside this lounge behind me when there was some type of dispute. That's when gunfire erupted. He said that 17 people they know have injuries from bullets, that they are now having gunshot wounds, and they're in the hospital. They said the youngest victim is 16 years old. So that means a 16-year-old was inside this club sometime around 2:30 this morning. They also said to us that victims were at many different hospitals around Little Rock. One victim even showing up in North Little Rock, according to police. They are still trying to gather information, though, about how many victims and how many people were actually injured when this gunfire erupted, because we're talking about 17 people that were hit by bullets, but they said that some people were injured trying to leave this club because it was packed. There was a concert there. You can see just from the video that we've been playing over and over that it was packed inside. So he said some people, as they were trying to exit, were even almost trampled upon, and people were just trying to get out of there. There are some people that are starting to show up, and we're going to go talk with them and see if we can get any more information from them. Police did say that their media representative is not going to be on the scene for a little bit. They're probably home getting some rest. They've been out here this all morning trying to get us that information, but we're going to keep checking in with detectives and try to get some new information for you. I'm going to talk to those people and let you know what I find out.
Okay. And just to clarify, a city official sent me a tweet telling me that it is a rap group, the rap group from Memphis. The name of the group is called Finesse 2 Times. Thanks a lot for that, Price. We will get back with you shortly. I want to send it, though, back to Aaron Nolan because, okay, I just got some more information. Hang on one second, Aaron. Might have been a rival group out of Memphis. That's all I was able to get.
When you say rival group, are you thinking rival musician, rival?
Well, this is from a city official who, first of all, told me, was the first person to tell me that this was a rap group out of Memphis, Tennessee. We found out the name of the group. You're going to talk more about that in a minute. But the other tweet is telling me, or the other message is telling me, might have been a rival group out of Memphis. So there could have been a rivalry out of Memphis. We don't know that yet, but this is from a high-ranking city official.
Well, Donna, as we saw Finesse 2 Times Twitter page, look, let's just be honest here.
Just put it out there.
You see the picture. You see the weapon that he's holding in the picture. It's scary. I'm going to just call it what it is. Let's go to Power Little Rock website, which is the club's website. It's the same picture on their promotional flyer.
Yeah.
I'm not alluding to anything here, Donna.
Well, I don't think you have to.
I'm just presenting what's there.
I don't think you have to allude to anything. I mean, when you see something like that, you have to question, okay, wait, who's coming? Now, then again, you know, with a lot of the young people, they see this sort of thing, and that doesn't affect them the same way that it might affect their parents or, you know, some other people, and they don't see fear when they see something like that. But one would have to question the group and and just what went on to spark this. It's a rap group, so you know you could focus on a lot of different things here,
The
but
pieces
we're
are
not
there.
We're not,
still putting them together.
We're not here trying to draw conclusions on things that we don't know, but that picture that you put up there, Aaron, says an awful lot.
Well, as you look at that
concerned.
picture, you know, we're going to let you guys decide, but I do want to show you exactly where this club is, and we've been talking about 220 West 6th Street. This is kind of the zoomed out version of downtown Little Rock. You can see right there the marker. That is the club itself. So as you're coming 630 into downtown Little Rock, you can take the Broadway exit and you're going to find that club. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can get a closer look at exactly what we're looking at. And of course, we've got a little bit of technical issues here. With my technology. I apologize for that. But it's very close to Capitol and Broadway. We are talking, this is in the heart of downtown Little Rock. Al, if we can jump off this real quick, it's going, there we go. Okay. So you can tell, Donna, here, as you see Broadway and 6th Street, where things are very close to, again, the heart of downtown Little Rock. Now, we've been talking about the opportunity to speak with Chief Kitten Buckner, who was at the scene last night. Again, real quick, rehashing this, 17 people shot, no one killed, several different injuries. We're going 3 to 4 different hospitals are having these victims at this time. A 16-year-old is the youngest. But Chief Kitten Buckner was at the scene. Here is what he had to say this morning.
On today's date, at approximately 2:30 a.m. at 220 West 6th Street at a club either formerly known or still known as the Power Lounge. There was a concert held here today. Preliminary information has a group from Memphis that was performing at this location. Some sort of dispute broke out between individuals that were inside. An exchange of gunfire took place. We believe that the latest number has approximately 17 individuals that were injured as a result of the gunfire. Also, other individuals were injured either being trampled or trying to exit the location. The youngest individual being age 16. All of that is preliminary information. We do not believe that this was an act of terror, nor do we believe it was an active shooter situation. The injured individuals are at our area hospitals, primarily 3 locations and possibly 1 hospital in North Little Rock. At this time, we're still very early in our investigation and gathering information, talking to witnesses, the promoters. At one point, we believe that they did have off-duty police working at the location. It is unclear at this time if they were there at the time of the actual incident when it occurred. Again, there were multiple individuals that were injured. The condition of those individuals right now, we believe that 1 is in critical condition. The others appear to be non-life threatening, but all of that's based upon preliminary information.
Are you expecting any more victims to show up at hospitals?
Well, we don't know. Obviously, with the time that it currently is, if they were out there, they probably would be at the hospitals by now. But that certainly could happen.
I just want to reiterate, you said 17 people were injured by gunfire or gunfire and exiting the club?
We believe 17 individuals were injured by gunfire, one of which appears to be critical.
Do we think we have multiple suspects?
It's too early to know that, but based upon the number of individuals that were injured, I would say that it probably would be multiple shooting suspects.
Any description of a vehicle, any information about who?
It's still too early for that kind of information. We'll still have our detectives at the hospitals at this location talking to individuals, trying to gather that kind of intimate information about the possible suspects.
That's a lot of victims. How many hospitals are we talking about that they're going to? They're going everywhere?
We believe that there's 3 to 4 hospitals that these individuals are currently located at in the Central Arkansas area.
Is this characterized as a mass shooting here in Little Rock?
I would call it a multiple shooting. Some people would call it a mass shooting. Too many people shot. I mean, 1 is too many. 17 is certainly alarming and very, very disturbing.
Do we have any idea how many people were injured by the exiting of the club?
We do not have that information. We're still gathering that with our detectives at our area hospitals.
What would your message be as chief to people during this time right now hour. We just reported nearly 10 drive-bys in 8 days, and now this gunfire here in downtown. What is your message to people?
Well, certainly during incidents such as this, emotions are very high. I think we need to be very careful with our words. This is, I guess, a blip on the map that we certainly didn't need, considering the history that we've had over the past week. We've put out warrants for a couple of individuals that we believe were responsible for some of those shootings. So at a time when you feel like that you had some momentum to get some of the individuals responsible for those shootings, we had this incident happen. But because we're still very early into this incident, we want to kind of just reserve our any further statements about that until we know more about the situation.
So no connections at this point?
It's too early to know that. It's too early to know that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was Chief Kenton Buckner responding after 17 people are shot at a Little Rock nightclub. He mentioned one was in critical condition. That person actually has been upgraded. So no deaths involved in this shooting. Dozens and dozens of shots fired inside that club. We are getting lawmakers to start to wake up, hear the news. Leslie Rutledge tweeting out, praying for 17 victims shot and others injured overnight in the Little Rock Lounge shooting. And Donna, you've been kind of digging around to find out more about this performer, about this rap artist. And some city officials are tweeting you and texting you as far as what happened and what may have led up to a shooting like this, a mass shooting.
You know what, and I wish I could actually give you more information. I keep trying to get this city official, a very high-ranking city official, to give me more information, but the only thing that he would say is a rap group out of Memphis. We've reported that. It's the group Finesse 2 times. And then he said might have been a rival group out of Memphis. When he said a rival group, my question was, rival with whom? Rival within them, their own group, or rival with someone here in Little Rock? Okay, I just got the answer. And he's watching. He said, no, rivalry with Memphis. So this could have, it sounds to me, based on what he's saying, this is a Memphis thing that may have been brought to Little Rock. We're going to wait for police to give us that officially, but like I said, this is a high-ranking city official who would have connections with the police department. One of the things, we're going to send it back to Price in just a second, but I do want to point out that one of the things, and I don't want this to get lost, the police chief, Kenton Buckner, said that there were off-duty police officers hired, but he said, were they working at the club at the time when the shots were fired? He wasn't sure of that. The other thing that he mentioned was a lot of people were trampled trying to exit the location. Of course, gunfire going off, you're trying to get out of there. But he did say all 17 of the injured were injured by gunfire. You're listening right there to the multiple shots that were fired. We tried to count them. We know there's somewhere between 20 and 30 shots fired. This happened in the upstairs area of the former Lulav restaurant. Some of you may be familiar with Lulav. I know many times folks here would go there and have dinner, or have dinner ordered out, or whatever the case. Lots of people would go there. They changed their name to Power Ultra Lounge a couple years ago. And it's interesting to note that when Empire, the show Empire, which airs on Fox 16, when it was first aired, we had a big party. Where was that party? It was at Power Ultra Lounge. Let's go back to Price McKeon. She is there in front of the building trying to get as much information as possible. And I know it's hard right now. Police were there earlier. When I say earlier, that's like 2:30 to 6 o'clock this morning. They were there long enough for you to get some information then. Are you still able to connect with your contacts so that you can update us on things?
I'm still trying to get some more information right now. Things are pretty quiet around here as they just work to collect all the evidence. This crime scene it's pretty big. We're going to show you. This is only probably half of what you're seeing, because it even goes on the other side of that building, because those windows that are busted out at that club, on the other side there are also more windows that are shattered there. What we know, again, just repeating what we know from the chief, are 17 people were injured by gunfire. They said there were more injuries by people just trying to get out of the club when this gunfire erupted. They said that they believe there was a dispute inside this club when it happened. The youngest victim, they said, was 16 years old. That means a 16-year-old around 2:30 this morning was inside this club behind me. We've been watching. There are a lot of, as detectives have been collecting all this evidence, there are a lot of streets in the downtown area that are blocked off. But we're kind of, just to describe where we are, we're right across the street from some churches. So this crime scene is literally less than a block from 2 different churches. And we've seen even cars that are parked here, and what looks like there could even be what appears to be, not to get graphic in the morning, but some blood stains on the car, things like that, that they are just starting to sort through. There were some people that I saw standing on the other side of the parking lot. I went over there, I tried talking with them. They told me that they were just out there, that they just were watching, they didn't know anything. Earlier this morning, I've been out here since about 3:30 this morning. There was a group of about 15 people out here. I asked them if they knew anything. They said they didn't know anything. So people that have been out here haven't really been talking much. The information that we're getting mainly is coming from police. So that's what we know right now, Donna.
All right, hey, Price, I believe there are some people behind you, some investigators. What are they doing? Are you able to figure out what, obviously investigating what's going on, and maybe looking for shell casings or something, but are you able to figure out what's going on?
I can tell you what I'm seeing them do. The one investigator in the red polo, I just saw him a few minutes ago walking around even outside the crime scene tape, even further from where we're standing. I would say maybe even 20, 30 yards from where we're standing, and he looked just to be strolling, looking at the grounds, possibly looking for evidence is what it looked like, but I couldn't confirm that. They're not talking about that. We do know that back here, though, we have been watching as they've been bagging up what appears to be evidence. Earlier, there were markers on the ground that were just feet away from where we're standing. Those have now been removed, so it does look like they are sorting through the evidence that is out here. There are still, to point out, there are still some cars out here that people have not been able to get to from last night, so possibly some people may be parked that live nearby, maybe some people that were at the club last night. We're not really sure whose cars, but there are some cars that are not police cars or detective cars that are parked right outside that club.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're seeing out here, Donna.
Price, I will tell you this, if 17 people were sent to the hospital, they weren't sent to the hospital in their cars, so we can assume that some of those cars may belong to them. And just to clarify, you're talking about churches in the area and that sort of thing. If anyone is familiar with downtown Little Rock, this is located at 220 West 6th Street. Yes, there are churches in that area. All right, Price, thank you for updating us. Aaron, you have some more information for us, right?
You brought up the address one more time, so let's look at the map. Let's show you exactly where this is. You can see 630 down here to the bottom of your screen. This is Broadway running here. Power Ultra Lounge is kind of right there in the middle, right there in what we know as downtown Little Rock. Again, 17 people shot at this location last night. Dozens of gunshots ringing out. It happened about 2:30. Again, police are not calling this a terror attack. It's a very important thing as you're waking up. Maybe you're slept in a little bit at 7:38 this morning. You can hear the gunshots here, dozens upon dozens of shots. But again, this is not a terror attack. Police are calling it a mass shooting. 17 people shot, no one killed. All the injuries at this time do not appear to be life-threatening. I reached out to our Lieutenant Governor, Donna. He sent me this statement. It is posted on Twitter, but I'm going to read it for you. It is tragic when anyone is injured by senseless violence, but this is horrific shooting. It's particularly shocking because it isn't in a faraway place. It's right here downtown in our home, in the community we know and love. My thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and our city. It's kind of where we're turning now, Donna, as we get the information of what happened. We've got to start figuring out moving forward. What do we do moving forward?
Yeah.
I've reached out also to Governor Asa Hutchinson, spokesperson, waiting to get anything back from the governor's office as well. But this is Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. It has been posted on our Twitter page as well. So,
yeah.
Donna, a lot of information coming in. And, you know, we've been talking about this mass shooting. Jonathan Roselle, who we're about to go to talk to a witness, and this, I think, kind of describes everything that we're going through right now. He said that witness described it as mass chaos.
Yeah, that was actually his nephew who was in the club last night, there for the concert. We will send it to Jonathan Roselle, who is outside one of the local hospitals. We are told that the 17 people were sent to 4 different hospitals. We know we have 3 of them in Little Rock, 1 in North Little Rock. Where specifically are you, Jonathan?
And Don, I'm outside of UAMS where some of those shooting victims, I'm told by Little Rock Police, were taken. Now, we've talked to officials here at the hospital. They're not sure exactly how many of those victims are there caring for at this point right now. We do know that one of the shooting victims is a woman. Little Rock Police said initially that she was in critical condition, but have updated her again to doing better than what she was initially taken to the hospital for this morning. Right now, we don't know exactly where on the body, how serious the other 16 shooting victims are at this point right now. Again, working hard to get that information for you. I do know this, that there are some family members inside. I've been told by a couple of hospital staff that there are several people who showed up early this morning, family members crying really because of some of these shooting victims being inside of here, loved ones really concerned about the shooting victims, their loved ones involved in this here. Again, I'll be working to get more information for you, but for now, I'll send it back to you in studio there.
Before you go, let's once again, for people who are just joining us and maybe didn't hear the earlier conversation, let's talk about your nephew. Your nephew was there last night. Luckily for him, when the shots were fired, he was standing outside, but he was able to see some things.
Absolutely right, Donna. My nephew called me this morning, very frantic. He was actually outside the club this morning. He told me he heard several shots, at least probably 20 shots, and that's when he turned to see several people running out of the club. He says it was just, he described it as mass chaos as people ran away trying to, hopefully hoping that they weren't shot themselves. He himself very upset about this. He knows a lot of those victims that were hit. He tells me, he was asking me just when all this gun violence in Little Rock would end. He said that this, and as we know, is a very great nightclub to be at. They came to have a good time. They weren't expecting this, and no one, I believe, expects this to happen here. So he's just very shocked and stunned, as many people are, that this happened here.
A lot of people shocked and stunned. Again, this is the former Lulav restaurant. A lot of people are familiar with it. A lot of people would go there before they'd go to see a play or go to some event in downtown Little Rock. It turned into the Power Ultra Lounge. Still a very nice place. You've gone there before. One of our reporters who's here right now said she was invited there last night. So like you said, this is something that you just don't expect to have happen. Aaron has been kind of keeping an eye on social media as well as a map of where this is located and getting some information from some of the state officials.
Yeah.
What do you have now?
Well, real quick, we're going to continue to show you this map. If you don't know exactly where this is downtown Little Rock. Right in the middle of downtown Little Rock is the Power Ultra Lounge. Donna, one thing interesting, talking about timing of this shooting. According to the Power Ultra Lounge website, the concert was slated to begin at 10 o'clock and end at 2 a.m. The shooting happened at 2:38. Can we assume that this was maybe an encore that they went on to? Or was this on the way out when, as you said, you know, city officials are saying that these were rival groups?
Well,
you know, a lot of the shooting happened at 2:28.
Well, let me just say this. To me, just looking at that video and listening to it, it sounded like the music was still going on.
Yeah.
It didn't appear as though the lights had come up and people were exiting, people were leaving. So I think maybe the party was lasting a little longer. There it is.
Yeah,
right
you
there.
see in that video, there's still a lot of people.
They're
not
still
leaving
partying.
yet. Yeah.
They're still partying. So maybe it was supposed to last until 2, but it did not. It lasted longer.
And we know how concerts go. There's definitely nothing there. You know, this is just the information that we're seeing. Again, 17 people shot, and when you think about a 16-year-old being the youngest, Donna, that's staggering.
Well, but you know, I mean, most of these places typically check ID. Were they doing that? Did someone use a fake ID? I mean, you know, sometimes people get into places where they're not supposed to be. We know this happens. And
You're taking a live look back
there.
at Power Ultra Lounge. It looks like the crime scene investigation unit has pulled up to the scene, now blocking the entrance there. But Donna, you keep telling us that this is the former Lulav. You can see there on the right side
Where it says
of your
Lulav.
screen, it still says Lulav. there, downtown Little Rock.
Let me kind of explain a little bit, because
Okay.
I've been there many times. The downstairs, and it's a fairly large area, two areas where there's the restaurant, there's a little bar area, and they serve meals. And then, though, if you go toward the back and go upstairs, that's where the lounge is. That's where the actual lounge is, and that's where they typically throw parties. In fact, there was a party that Fox 16 threw there not very long ago, or maybe a couple years ago, when Empire first aired. It was a nice facility, nice acoustics. We had a great time there. And they have been having concerts there now for quite some time. So the fact that they had a concert there last night is not unusual. They just invite different groups.
Is this
sometimes the groups are local, sometimes they're not local. Last night, that group was out of Memphis. It was not local.
Balcony situation? Are you looking at
This
two
is-
different floors where you're overlooking the stage?
No balcony. You just go upstairs, and then it's the giant room. It's just
Okay.
a great big room. They have typically, the last time I was there, they had a VIP section where, you know, you pay a little money and you're in the VIP section. I mean, they're just a regular nightclub, and from all accounts, a nice restaurant. Police can tell us if they've had problems there before, but you know, from what I recall, and just knowing some of the people that I know who have gone there and who have invited me there, a nice place.
Well, and I can double that, because I'm looking at the price of the ticket last night was $30. And, you know, I grew up in Little Rock. I've gone to a lot of the different places in downtown Little Rock to see music. A $30 ticket for, you know, a downtown club, a downtown bar, whatever that may be, is very expensive. So this was actually probably a spot that a lot of folks wanted to go, and an artist that might be decently regarded, maybe highly regarded, here in this part of the South.
We have a statement from Kathy Webb that we want to show you. This is the Vice Mayor. Prayers for victims of mass shooting in our city. For city, for first responders, and for all who are committed to work to end violence. This is the Vice Mayor of the city of Little Rock, Kathy Webb. We thank her for that statement. We are now hearing from a number of city officials who are commenting on what happened. This was a mass shooting that happened in downtown Little Rock. It is, as we've said before, it is not related to terrorism. It could very well have something to do, based on my sources, have something to do with this group that came there to perform last night at the Power Ultra Lounge, the group out of Memphis. There were, from what we could tell by the video that we saw at the time of the shooting, someone who had their camera phone, and they were probably just, I don't know, they were recording at the time. We were able to get our hands on that recording, which was on social media. This is it. I'm going to be quiet for a second so you can hear this. Those were the shots that were fired last night. We tried to count them. Maybe you tried to count them yourselves. The video went dark because the person who was holding the phone probably dropped the phone or started running or started moving or something like that. But initially, you could see that video there. You could tell that the party was still going. It happened around 2:30 this morning. That's when police initially got the call. As we've mentioned, the youngest person who was injured last night was 16 years old. Total of 17 people injured, according to our police chief, Kenton Buckner. All of those people were injured by gunfire. He did say some people may have been hurt trying to get out, trampled as they were trying to get out of the building last night. And certainly that would happen when you hear that many gunshots fired. But the injured taken to the 3 hospitals in Little Rock, as well as 1 hospital in North Little Rock.
So, Donna, again, I just want to keep bringing this up, a location of where this is. A lot of folks are going to wake up and say, where in the world is 220 West 6th Street? Well, it's right in the heart of downtown Little Rock. I mean, if we're thinking, what is downtown Little Rock? You know, you kind of got Broadway over to Interstate 30 is kind of the heart of downtown Little Rock. Look right in the middle. That's where Power Ultra Lounge is, where 17 people were shot, dozens and dozens of gunshots ringing out, people injured from being trampled. The youngest being shot is 16 years old. So a lot of questions this morning. We also get a lot of officials who are starting to weigh in. I was able to text Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin He released this statement. I want to read part of it. It's shocking because it is right here downtown in our home. And I think that's a lot of what people are thinking right now. It is downtown. It is, you know, the epicenter of Arkansas right now. He goes on to say, my thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and our city. So a lot is happening right now. We have team coverage right now, both on KARK and Fox 16, as 17 people have been shot. Donna, one thing that and it's amazing how much kind of floods your mind during these moments. We keep talking about shots fired, shots fired. How many guns were involved here?
We don't know.
As I watched that video
question,
again, there was a pause in the gunshots.
Right.
Makes me think that there may have been a second gun fire. We don't know.
Unless they were reloading.
That's terrifying.
That's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Here it is again, but listen for that gap.
Listen.
You hear there's about a 2.5 to 3 second delay there, Donna, when the gunfire begins again.
Here's the thing, and I'm no expert with this, but I have to wonder if maybe the sound was muffled. If the person holding the phone, if that sound was muffled and that just came directly from that gun.
That could allude to more gunshots, though.
But hold that thought for a minute, because I just got a text message from Bruce Moore, who is the city manager of Little Rock. He released a statement. I am truly saddened by what happened this morning. I am praying for the victims. I am very confident that LRPD will make multiple arrests in this incident. This will not be tolerated in our city. In addition, we are making multiple arrests in the incidents from the 10 days. What he's referring to is over the past 10 days, we've had a number of drive-by shootings and just shootings in the city of Little Rock. That is from our city manager, Bruce Moore, who just sent me that text message with his statement in terms of what's happened. So obviously, a lot of people are affected by this, upset. We have state officials, we have city officials who are responding to this. This is something that typically doesn't happen in Little Rock. Certainly, we've had a number of things. We have our Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge, who is on the phone right now. Good morning, Attorney General. Thank you for joining us. Your thoughts on what happened last night?
Well, good morning, Donna. I think that all of us in Arkansas and certainly in Little Rock woke up this morning to this news that is so scary and disappointing. And as you just noted, this is something that we don't see happening in Little Rock. And it's, we're praying for these victims. We want those with information, if they have any information whatsoever, to contact the Little Rock Police Department. I know that Chief Buckner and his team are working overtime really to get more information in, but our heart breaks for these victims. We want people to have safe places to go to where they can enjoy music and fellowship with one another. But again, we encourage people to reach out to the Little Rock PD. We offer our thoughts and prayers for this. But I think this is also a reminder for all of us to encourage peaceful discourse, civil discourse with one another, and to curb this sort of violence in our cities across Arkansas.
You know what? We couldn't agree with you more. Let me just ask you this. Certainly, when you hear of 17 people shot at a nightclub in downtown Little Rock, that is frightening. But in addition to that, Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, who I'm speaking to on the phone right now, we're talking also about all of these shootings that have happened in Little Rock over the past 10 days. Just over the past 10 days, we've had a number of shootings. Certainly that's disturbing as well, right?
Indeed, Donna. We have seen a number of shootings and outbreak of violent crime. And we need to, as community leaders, to address this sort of crime, to talk to these individuals about the value of human life, how we can have disagreements with one another without resulting to this sort of violence, and really come together as a community to address it. Okay.
All right. That is our State Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge, on the phone with us. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for your thoughts and your comments. And I know police are working hard. They're trying to get to the bottom of this, and hopefully we'll have some answers very, very soon. I guess the blessing here is the fact that out of these 17 people, no one was killed, because this could have ended up far more tragic than it did.
As the Attorney General was talking there, Donna, one thing that stuck with me, she says, we want safe places for our kids, for our teens, for even us adults. To go and to listen to music, and I think that's a great moment to remember here, as this is not a thought process of shut them all down. We need those safe places here in Little Rock, and as this mass shooting happens in the heart of downtown, we're all maybe shaken this morning by what has happened. Again, you're taking a look at the video inside the Power Ultra Lounge. 17 people shot, many others could have been injured as the shooting happened. Folks trying to get outside of the building. There's the shooting from inside. 20 to 30 shots fired, 17 people injured, taken to area hospitals, several different area hospitals. Donna, we continue to kind of comb through what has happened, what we're going to do moving forward. We're getting prayers from state officials, which is great for those injured. If you want to know exactly where this is, here is in between Broadway and Interstate 30, the heart of downtown Little Rock. Of course, here you have the River Market on top. Next to the river, right dead smack in the middle, Power Ultra Lounge. This is right in the heart. Real quick, going to run back to Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin, calling this shocking because it isn't in a faraway place. It's right here in downtown in our home. So Donna, again, people are waking up this morning, probably shocked to the news. 17 people shot at a downtown club in Little Rock.
Well, you know what? Well, let's talk about just that for a minute. I know you got a phone call this morning, alerting you that this had happened and asking you to come into work. I got a phone call this morning alerting me, and I mean, what was your thought when you heard that this morning?
It's sinking. I think the first response is just a sinking feeling. It is one of those things, and I don't know how you felt. My daughter is laying in a bed next to mine, and I grew up here in Central Arkansas. I was born at Baptist Hospital in downtown Little Rock, and to hear 17 people shot, your heart sinks, your stomach sinks. The only emotion that I can come up with right now is a sinking feeling. How did you feel when you got the news?
Shocked.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk about you grew up here. You know, I've been here now 14 years. This is home. This is my home. And I say this all the time with our Victory Over Violence initiative, and with all the crime that's happening. I mean, it almost brings tears to my eyes. And when I heard that, I was shocked. But I just hurried up and got here as quickly as I could because I wanted to help get this information out. But I mean, I'm used to waking up and watching national news and hearing about this sort of thing somewhere else, not here, not in Little Rock. So the fact that it has happened and it is happening, to me, is heartbreaking. And I want our city officials, I want our police, I want our state officials, I want our stations, Fox 16 and KARK, to do everything we can in our power to curb some of this violence, because as a reporter and having to report on it and having to tell you about it, it touches you. You know, I mean, we're not, you know.
We're not robots.
We're not robots. Thank you.
We are people with emotions.
And we're touched by this just like you are. We're shocked. When you're shocked, we're shocked. And our goal is to disseminate the information and to let you know the facts, and that's what we do. But in our hearts, in our minds, we battle with this just like you do.
Absolutely, and we have one of those jobs where sometimes we have to put aside our feelings.
Yeah.
And over the past 58 minutes, Donna, we've had to do that.
Yeah, up until just a moment ago, I had put mine aside, and it kind of got to me. But you know what?
Up the last 14 years, and one thing that I think about growing up here is kind of the cyclical nature of this violence. I grew up in Little Rock in the late 80s, early 90s, where we did see a spike in violence, where Little Rock was a different city. I do remember Little Rock being a different city. We had to know where to go in the city. And I do not want to get back to that. I'm raising 2 young girls, and you know, you get emotional. I'm getting chill bumps now, and not in a good way. Thinking about the call I got this morning, and thinking what I grew up with when I was 8, 9, 10 into my teen years here in Little Rock.
Yeah.
And no children, no teen should go through that again. We've seen nearly a dozen drive-by shootings in the last several days, and then today, early Saturday morning, 17 people shot. This is not at all, this is not at all what we want to hear. Donna has heard that this was a Memphis-based rapper, a Memphis-based group, as we shift back to the bullet points of what happened early this morning. And it could have been rival groups out of Memphis. So I think that's an important note here as we say 17 people shot, and we're talking about the violence here in Little Rock, Donna, but it's also important to remember in this incident, from what we're being told right now, is that this were actually rival groups out of Memphis.
That's the information that I'm getting.
This could change, but right now.
They may have brought their beef here,
yeah.
And we don't appreciate that. Let's send it to Price McKeon. She is outside of the Power Ultra Lounge, and hopefully with more information. At least I believe that's what I was just told. That's where we're going. Is that correct? Yes.
Downtown Little Rock, right? Hi, Donna and Aaron. Right now, it's really almost eerily quiet out here as crime scene investigators are collecting evidence and processing the scene. There's been a few people, maybe 5 or 6 people on the outskirts of the crime scene, and they don't want to talk. They said they don't know anything, so it is almost eerily quiet out here. But what we do know from police at this point is that this club behind me, that there was a shooting, there was some type of fight that took place around 2:30 this morning. We've been out here since about an hour after that, around 3:30 this morning. They say that 17 people were injured by the gunfire. They said there were other people that were injured in addition to the 17 people that were injured, because it was just chaos when people were coming out of here trying to get out. Even trampled on is the word that I've been hearing floated around when we were first on the scene out here talking with them. What else we're learning is the youngest victim, they said, is 16 years old. So they said a 16-year-old around 2:30 this morning was inside this club listening to what Donna and Aaron have been telling you, a rap group from Memphis. I can tell you that this crime scene is very large. It has not gotten any smaller in the last... It hasn't gotten smaller at all, actually. They're still just processing the scene. So we're going to stay out here, try to get more information. As soon as we get information, we'll pass that along to you.
You know what, and I'll be honest with you, the issue that we're facing is, this happened at 2:30 in the morning. Police were there, and you can confirm this, up until after 6 o'clock. We went on air at 7. It's now 8 o'clock, so there's not as much action going on there right now. But I know you are in the thick of things, and you do have contacts. We'll let you get to work on that. We're going to send it to Jonathan Roselle, who is at UAMS,
Thanks.
where some of the victims were sent.
Well, Jonathan's not quite ready, Donna, so let's look at location again.
Okay.
As we're talking about where this area is, we're talking 220 West 6th Street, right in the heart of downtown Little Rock. Some of the locations, State House Convention Center, Old State House. This is the River Market area. So Power Ultra Lounge right in the middle. You're taking a look at that satellite view. We're zooming in now, right on top of the building. And Donna, you have been inside this. Fox 16 actually hosted a party inside there. What is the setup like when you walk into this restaurant/bar/concert venue?
Well, when you walk in, there is a restaurant area where there are tables, and straight ahead of you is a bar area. And when I say bar, I mean a bar where they're making cocktails and that sort of thing. Right next to it is another room where there's more of a restaurant. And if you proceed to go back to the back of the building, there are some stairs that will take you upstairs. Upstairs is where the concert was, and that is where the shooting happened. Fox 16 KARK's Jonathan Roselle is at UAMS. And that is where some of the victims were taken. They were taken to a total of 4 different hospitals, 3 in Little Rock and 1 in North Little Rock. You are there at UAMS. Have you heard anything new?
You know, Donna, as you mentioned, several taken here to UAMS right now. We're still trying to talk to officials and figure out how many exactly were taken here to UMS and their injuries, if possible, if we can get that information for you. We do know that one victim, a woman, was in critical condition initially this morning. She, we're told by police, is doing better at this hour right now. Again, we know that several taken here. We don't know exactly their conditions right now. We're really trying to figure that out at this point. But we do know that several were taken here to get some treatment for their injuries as well.
All right. Thank you for that. I have just gotten some information. Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan, who's at UAMS, where some of the victims were taken. I am being told that there will be a news conference this afternoon. I just asked what time, so I'm waiting to hear what time. But at some point, there will be a news conference which will update us on what happened. Again, there was a statement from Bruce Moore, the city manager of Little Rock, and I will read it for you. We're trying to get a graphic for you on this, but he says, "I am truly saddened by what happened this morning. I am praying for the victims. I am very confident that Little Rock Police Department will make multiple arrests in this incident. This will not be tolerated in our city. In addition, we are making multiple arrests in the incidents from the 10 days, talking about the 10 days of shootings that we have had in the city of Little Rock." Aaron?
Well, if folks are just now waking up at now 8:05 on a Saturday morning, let's quickly walk them through kind of what we know. It was 2:30 this morning when police got a call that there was a mass shooting at a club in downtown Little Rock. This is the location of the Power Ultra Lounge. A Memphis-based rapper was performing. By our count, there were 20 to 30 shots fired in this video. Take a listen. Now, out of those 20 or 30 shots, we've been told 17 people have been shot. 3 to 4 hospitals are currently responding or currently housing these 17. The youngest victim is 16-year-old. Right now, we want to go to Little Rock Mayor Mark Stodola. Mayor Stodola, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I guess the first thought, what was the emotion, what was the feeling when you heard 17 people shot inside your city?
Well, my heart just sinks, and I got a sick feeling in my stomach about all of this kind of crazy, absolutely outrageous conduct.
As you started to get the information, maybe from Police Chief Kenton Buckner, what did you start shifting to? Because I know, just like us, at some point you've got to take the emotion and put it aside and get to the business at hand. What was Chief Kenton Buckner's message to you?
Well, obviously, there's way too many guns on the streets. There are people carrying guns, packing guns all over the place, and you mix that with late night alcohol, drugs, whatever was going on at that club, and this is the terrible consequence of it. It's totally unacceptable conduct. We are working day and night to try and figure out a way to stem the violence on these issues. With hard programs and soft programs. We got people in the streets trying to talk to young people about this. This is primarily an older group of people, I'm suspecting, getting information about a Memphis group that was over here. Don't have the details. We're going to do a press conference later this afternoon. I understand no one has. I've heard that 16 people that were shot, whether it's 16 or 17, it really is just totally outlandish, unbelievable.
Mayor Mark Stodola joining us now. Mayor, you mentioned the press conference this afternoon. The location, I think, is what is going to shock a lot of people being in downtown Little Rock. And, you know, Donna and I were talking. I grew up here in Little Rock, and these areas have never really been a concern of weapons like this. Does the location strike you as concerning, being right in the heart of what Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin has said, our home?
Well, certainly it does, but these late night clubs go through a process of trying to get zoned and permitted, and so long term, I suppose that's an issue that we can look at. But we require security as well at these types of locations. So this is pretty out of the norm, frankly. And Again, I don't have the details. We're working on getting the details, letting the police do their job, and we'll be able to explain more when we get all of that information collected.
Mayor Stodola, this is Donna Terrell. I'm here to ask you a few questions as well. You mentioned having police on duty. One of the things that the chief, Kenton Buckner, said that off-duty police officers were working at the club. He just wasn't sure at the time whether or not they were right there when the shooting happened. Have we been able to discover or get any more information in terms of that? Were they actually in the room?
I don't have any information on that at this point in time, and I know that's an issue that was mentioned by Chief Buckner, and we'll be able to respond to that perhaps by this afternoon.
I'm probably going to ask you something else that you may or may not be able to comment on, but this Finesse group, Finesse 2 Times group, have you heard anything about them, as well as this could have been a beef between rivalries out of Memphis, or if it actually had something to do with Little Rock?
I've heard those rumors, and we'll just have to see how the investigation proceeds on that.
Okay. All right. In terms of the shootings that have happened in the city of Little Rock, the drive-bys that have happened over the last 8 or 9 days, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, it's just totally out of norm and out of character for our city. We don't need that kind of activity going on. We're working to try and figure out how we can investigate these cases. We've got to have people that come forward, and if the community's not going to come forward, it's very hard for us to stop this kind of activity and this kind of conduct.
And you know,
so I mean, we've got detectives, we got police officers working all the time trying to figure out how we can interrupt this cycle of totally unacceptable conduct. And so whether it's working at standpoint of youth activities that we spend millions of dollars on trying to prevent these kinds of things from happening, or whether it's putting street people who've been in trouble before, who understand the consequence of it, and having them talk to young people about the fact that this is not the road they want to go down. We are working it in just multifaceted ways. I'm working on trying to lay out for the public here shortly all of the various kinds of things that the city is doing to try and stop the violence.
well, you know, Mayor, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but some of these things I am aware of. I know you've hired some people who, one of whom had been in prison for 30-something years. Familiar with gangs, who's trying to do a little outreach to get the gang members to put down their guns. We also reported a few weeks ago that 2 suspects who were taken off the street, who were involved in the little Ramiah Reed killing, that that would supposedly put an end to some of the gun violence. But I'll be honest with you, and this is as a reporter here that reports on this day in and day out, it seems to me that the gun violence has escalated instead of going down.
Well, we're doing everything we can. You know, I'm hopeful. We had about 3 weeks there or so where it seemed that things were subsiding. Again, you're right. The drive-bys this last 10 days have seemed to go up, and I wish I could stop speeding bullets. I really do. I wish other people could do that. We've got to have the community come forward to help us investigate and solve these crimes, and it's a collective community effort, and we have to continue to work very, very hard on it, which is what we're doing.
Okay, Mayor Mark Stodola, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for answering those questions. As you said, a news conference will be held this afternoon. It's 8:13 right now, so sometime this afternoon, hopefully we'll get more information. Hopefully some arrests are being made. Police aren't really giving us any information on that right now. Aaron?
Well, Donna, you know, looking at the clock, you said it's 8:13. Interesting for me right now, we are less than 6 hours removed from when the shooting actually happened. This shooting, the calls were coming in right about 2:30 for what is the Power Ultra Lounge. Dozens of shots fired right here in the heart of downtown Little Rock. Jonathan Roselle is at one of the area hospitals. He is at UAMS, where some of these victims were taken. We know there have been about 4 different hospitals that have taken these victims. Jonathan is live right now with new information. Jonathan, what do you have for us?
And Aaron, I just spoke to UAMS officials. They tell me that 9 shooting victims are being cared for here at the hospital. Right now, we don't know their exact condition or injuries at this point, but 9 shooting victims are being cared for here at the hospital. Again, one of those shooting victims, we don't know exactly where she is, but Little Rock police tell us that she was in critical condition this morning. Right now, they say that she is doing much better. 9, again, of those victims being cared for here at the hospital. We're working to find out exactly what injuries they have. For now, I'll send it back to you in studio.
Jonathan, kind of walk us through, your cousin was there, and we've talked about this over the last hour. She described this as mass chaos, not just a mass shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. My nephew was actually outside the club. He tells me that he had just arrived there, was outside with friends. He heard about 20 or so shots outside, and he turned around to see several people running outside of that club there. He called it mass chaos. He didn't know exactly what was going on out there. He heard a lot of screaming, a lot of women going down. He just tried to help his friends as much as possible. A lot of those shooting victims, he tells me that he knew and knows, rather, a lot of them are friends of his or knows from different events that they go to together. He himself just very upset about this, very just really distraught and stunned with what happened here. He's asking myself, when does this gun violence in Little Rock, when does it end? We came to this club last night to have a good time. We had no idea and didn't expect this to happen here. This is what he called a laid-back club, someplace that can go and relax and really enjoy the music and have a good time and really enjoy each other. And then all of a sudden this chaos happens right here.
Jonathan Roselle reporting. Jonathan, thank you so much. Again, a mass shooting, 17 people shot at a club in downtown Little Rock. Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin joins us on the phone. Lieutenant Governor, I texted you this morning, and I don't know if that was the first time you heard about the mass shooting, but I do want to know, what was your emotion when you did first realize that a shooting happened? You know, I've been to your house, 3 or 4 minutes away from your house.
Yeah, so I saw it just sort of drift across my phone as one of the breaking news alerts. And at first, when I saw the number of people injured, I didn't associate it with Little Rock, and I read more closely, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you know, not here, not, you know." And then I read a little more, and obviously, anytime anybody is hurt in a violent act, that's a tragedy, and senseless like this is just a tragedy. And thoughts and prayers go out to all the folks injured. But as you just said, you know, we see this on the news all over the world, senseless violence. But and we've got an issue here in Little Rock. I live in Little Rock, and it's when I look at the news, it's just crime after crime after crime. But with something of this magnitude, you immediately think, okay, this is not in a faraway place. This is in the town where I live, the community that I love, the community where I go out to eat, I see friends, I live my life. And it just has that much more impact when it's happening here. And you know, obviously, the first concern are with the people that are impacted. Have they found the shooter yet? I hadn't heard that they had.
Have that information yet, but Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin, as we continue this discussion of being close to home, have you been able to kind of rack your brain to figure out, how do we fix this?
Well, that's a conversation for a more political time. You know, there are a lot of things I think that could be done that we could talk about at a later time. I think a lot of the policies that people pursue and are not the right ones, and there are better ones. It doesn't mean you can stop it. You know, it doesn't mean you can stop it all, but there are things we can do to make things better. But we'll talk about that at another time.
That's a great point. Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin joining us. As 17 people have been shot in downtown Little Rock. I guess, Lieutenant Governor, moving forward, we're going to get more information on this. And of course, I know you have a message for those who may have been injured and the families of those who are now maybe at the hospital, as 3 to 4 area hospitals are taking in these victims. What would your message be to those who have been shot and those who have been injured in this shooting and their family members?
Well, first of all, you know, unless it's happened to us, all we can do is imagine what they're going through, and I totally get that. But you know, we as a community have to wrap our arms around those people and do whatever we can to help them heal physically and mentally and every other way. You know, these are folks, think about it. These are not folks that knew they were going into a dangerous situation, right? They weren't, you know, they weren't going into